What's up guys, it's Lord Botha here for another video, and it seems like Helldivers 2 devs are moving on to their next game. This comes to us from Games Radar, less than a year after launching 2024's best live service. Helldivers 2 creative director has already started working on the next Arrowhead game. Arrowhead Game Studios' COO is already working on the team's next game after the mega success of Helldivers 2. Former Arrowhead CEO turned CCO of Helldivers 2, creative director Johan Pilstedt, and you'll remember he took that CCO step down because he didn't enjoy having to manage the company through the crisis that was the PSN debacle and exactly how community support bungled handling that mess with fans of the game. But anyway, he took to social media just before the new year to ask players what their expectations and desires were for whatever the studio cooked up after, or maybe even alongside. He stated on a post on X, quote, "I am working on the high concept, but I would love to hear your speculation." Now this news that Pilstedt or Pilstedt or however you say his name, that he and Arrowhead are looking into moving on to their next game is coming right now isn't that much of a surprise to me. It's been a full year since Helldivers 2's launch, and while the game is a massive success, there's no denying that, it hasn't been without hiccups, and we all know what they are. I mentioned some of them just earlier. And the game has gone from a peak of about almost 500,000 players to down to lows of under 10,000 players at times. Now with the recent update that's come out, it's seen a resurgence, and people have regained interest in the game with the adding of new enemies in the form of the Illuminate and things like rovers, stuff that they've been promising to put in the game since all the way back in the first update. And that's always been a complaint about Helldivers 2 in their development. Arrowhead Studios seems to always be promising more and more and taking about 5 times as long to actually deliver that, to the point where a lot of people, including myself, just thought we were never going to get it. And while yes, again, we've seen a resurgence of players in the past month, we're still nowhere near those peak numbers, and those numbers are already on the decline again. Now, does that mean that this game isn't always going to have a player base? No. This game is going to have a healthy player base, and probably for a really long time. It's doing numbers that other games that are live service would definitely kill for. Maybe if X-Defiant had these kinds of numbers, Ubisoft wouldn't be shutting it down less than a year into operation. We also have to take this into recent consideration, which just popped up. Helldivers 2 director decides to kick off 2025 by wading into the conversation about DEI. Make good games. Don't make contemporary political statements. Pilstedt's initial statement came in response to a user on X who urged him to, quote, never add DEI, an acronym for diversity, equity, and inclusion. His response was to say, if it doesn't add to the game experience, it detracts, and games should be a pure pursuit of amazing moments. He continued to say, I don't like labels, but mankind is united in its extreme xenophobia on Super Earth. Hashtag inclusion, so maybe that's DEI? I really don't care. Make good games. Don't make a contemporary political statement. Now, it had always been whispered and believed secretly that the developers of Helldiver were fairly politically neutral guys, especially the creative director. That he was one of those let's make fun games rather than games that are specifically pushing any kind of political agenda. And it seems to be very clear here in his statement that he is indeed one of those. He's making it obvious for everybody to see now. Maybe it's because the Saber guys said it first, so he feels more comfortable in coming out again and doing this. And some people are trying to say this divides fans or whatever. It really doesn't. Actual gaming fans respect this kind of statement. Political people with pronouns in their bio that actually hate gamers while also trying to pretend to be one, those are the kind of people that get angry at this statement. And there's a very, very vocal minority of them. So this kind of statement does not divide fans. Most of us are pretty much down with this. It's more of a galvanizing statement and sentiment, which adds fuel to the fire that they're going to move on to the next game soon. there's not going to be any more hardcore, massive updates for Helldivers. Yeah, they're going to get some updates here and there. There's going to be more cosmetic stuff. They might have, big scale events or anything. But as far as massive, huge updates like the one that was just put out, I don't think you're going to see a ton of that anytime soon. Maybe in a couple of years if they really want to be pretty stringent on the development of this game. And they do say later on that they feel like they can phase the game from Helldivers 2 to Helldivers 3 with as much content as they want to put into it. Seems a little bit ambitious to me, but alright. And it will probably take them 3 times as long as they think it will actually take them, seeing how long it took for them to add the Illuminant and other stuff that they promised was coming very quickly. But yeah, the point is that they did release all that stuff. It made player count tick up. They're saying the popular thing now that games should be politically, neutral. And as far as the whole PSN debacle, people have pretty much forgotten about that. They've forgotten about the fact that you still need the PSN link. They haven't actually taken that down. And the people who got denied the access to be able to play the game in whatever country they lived in where they couldn't get access to PSN, their game has still been taken away from them. But yeah, it definitely makes sense with all the stories surrounding Helldivers 2 and their massive update that they just put out last month, that they look like they're moving on to the next thing now. And my guess is that they're probably going to move into something that's going to be fantasy related. You see this a lot in all mediums, whether it's movie, TV, books, and even video games. When a person, company, whatever, makes one of these genres, they move right into the next genre. Peter Jackson makes Lord of the Rings. It's a massive hit. What's the next thing he does? He goes to District 9. George R.R. Martin sells a ton of books with the Game of Thrones series, A Song of Fire and Ice. What's next? He writes a sci-fi horror novel. Even in gaming, you see this. BioWare, they have a massive hit in Mass Effect. What do they do next? They go straight into fantasy by releasing Dragon Age Origins. I don't know why, but when people have massive successes in genre, they want to quickly go into the complete opposite genre. And Arrowhead Studios probably is going to get a ton of money to actually make whatever game they want. They've already proven that they can make a massive success when they have investment funding. I'm sure they have a lot of capital from making Helldivers 2. I'm sure PlayStation also doesn't fear giving them more cash themselves. But those are just my thoughts on all this. If you have your own thoughts, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If you like this video, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, appreciate you watching all of it, and we'll talk to you again later.